now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, here we are, folks, with Chief Frank DeAndrea. Where are we going in the city of Hazleton? As I said on the mayor's show when I had Mayor Yanuzzi here and Steve Hahn, well, why don't we just shoot ourselves in the head and put the blanket over the city, and that's it, we're done. Well, it's furthest from the truth, because there's a lot of great things that are happening in the city, and the main guy himself, Chief DeAndrea, is here to talk about, first of all, he's been on the force for 1 year, and I'd like to know what he did in last year and what he's going to do in the upcoming year. Frank, we got a lot of exciting things happening in the city of Hazleton, don't we?
Yes, we certainly do.
So tell me something. Are you going to announce your retirement today? You've had it. 1 year's enough. This is it. I'm walking out the door.
Couldn't be further from the truth. One year into this, I have more desire to continue on the path that we've started, and a lot of good ideas.
Well, before I even start, I want to tell two things. Number one, I want to welcome my media partners here in the studio, John Patton, who is the operation manager at the Standard Speaker. We have the new guy, no stranger to our station here, Mark Catcher, who is the new managing editor for the Standard Speaker, and Amanda Crispin is in the studio today. She's one of the reporters, and of course Eric, you all know Eric, the photographer, and I welcome them in the studio today to give you further information on what's happening. And that shows you, folks, the media commitment that we have, that Standard Speaker has, and SSP TV has in the community. We want to keep you informed as much as possible. And Frank, with that being said, the second thing I want to say is, and I'm not patronizing your force, I said this when the mayor was on, you know, your team, the cops, the detectives are second to none. They're working. I would not want to be them. I applaud them, and they're doing a great job. With that being said, 1 year, what did you do?
Well, there's several avenues or areas I'd like to break it up to. First of all, from the administrative side of things, coming in as the chief of police, I talked to Captain Ed Hoke from Troop N Hazleton, who said, the one thing that you will always bring, having been a state trooper all your adult life, is the professionalism, the administrative abilities. So I come into the city police department, and we now have, you start small, a city inventory of everything that the department has. We know the number of items we have. We know what's working, what's not working. We had a lot of things on the book that just had no value. We needed to get rid of. So from the administrative side, we've written a lot of new policies, updating. The policy and procedure manual for the city police department was written in 1996. It has never been updated. The times change, so there's a huge overhaul of all of the policies and procedures that need to take place. That's from a liability standpoint, as well as from training, and we instituted an evidence officer. The city police department never had an evidence officer before. The evidence room is a full-time job. There was always somebody that would go in there and work a lot of hours, but I need to focus and dedicate that, because your evidence room is extremely important to your ability to show chain of custody when you are in legal proceedings. We have a narcotics division, detectives division. We've done a huge overhaul of the third floor. We've moved the offices from the third floor down to the first floor so that the public could access them. I used to laugh, but it never made sense. If you came for a handicap permit, we'd walk you to the third floor. You know, if you succeeded in getting to the third floor, you failed the test, you couldn't have a handicap permit, I guess, you know. So we actually moved licensing, permits, code enforcement down to the first floor to make it more accessible to the public. Same thing with the ticket office, we moved them over there. If I swing from administrative to personnel, one of the biggest things that we've done is my officers now have tasers. Those tasers that we've used, and we've deployed them multiple times, one of them probably saved a riot, and for my officers actually having to draw their weapons on someone. They've saved several times that my officers, I can guarantee you, would have been hurt if they weren't able to deploy a taser. We're all trained in tasers now. We've upgraded our weapons. We've got some new sights for our AR-15s. As you're well aware from some of the goings-on, carrying automatic weapons on patrol is no longer a luxury. You don't run back to station to get your AR-15 or your riot shotgun. They're in every car, 24 hours a day. A cop's out there, and he has those weapons. So with that, as the chief of police, I made sure that these weapons are up to speed, that we're training properly with them. We've had the new budget. I say the new budget, it spells out line items, specific line items for certain things that the department needs. It's I'm going to say the first time that the mayor's true budget actually gives an expense to city council to understand where the department is spending money. We're fortunate to have been able to get the leases for the 5 new patrol vehicles that will come. One of the biggest things that I think the city deserves, and they've seen in the first year, is a new image for the police department. I've instituted a Class A uniform. I've worked with the union to make sure that everybody has the appropriate uniform so that when you are being seen, you're all wearing the same thing. The Class A uniform we use when we go to events such as funerals. But with that, the new cars are going to be unveiled when they come in, and that will have a new paint scheme, new stripes. Not only does it build the morale for the police department, because they're such a professional group of individuals, and they truly need to be allowed to have a very professional appearance. I believe that the public needs that also. The public needs to be proud of not only the job that the police department does, but how the police department looks, how they present themselves. I love hearing from the public that they feel like they see more police now than they ever have. I've taken the unmarked cars out of patrol. You see a car now on patrol, you'll know that it's a cop. There's no question that that's a police officer driving downtown. Every time we have the opportunity, we do foot patrols in the business districts. I get the canine officer involved. One of the things that the district attorney has done is purchased a second canine dog for us, which is going to be in this year that you'll see a new canine dog. Every time I turn around, there's 40, 50 different initiatives that I've accomplished in the first year that are just doing the groundwork. I don't have an officer who has overdue reports anymore. And that was huge for my members and for the community. They'd call and say, this accident happened. Why
is that important, Frank, so the community understands?
Sure. Somebody from the community, their kid would be involved in an accident. They needed the report to go to their insurance company. They're calling, and when you fall behind on reports, you have a tendency to never be able to catch back up. And the community suffers. At the same time, it's an overwhelming burden where you don't want to even come to work anymore. You don't look forward to it because before you get in there, you have all of this work to do. So
when you first came on, and you started making these changes, the rumor had it, whether it was true or not, that the morale and the police department, sort of dropped a little bit because you were demanding certain things, and some people loved you, some people hated you, and you took that over. So how do you see that in the year now? How's the morale in the police department? Do they still hate Frank DeAndrea, or do they love him? Hold with that thought, folks.
Sure.
I'm talking to Frank DeAndrea, the chief of police in the Hazleton area, and we talk about what's happening in the city and where we're going. I know most of you tell me every time you see me, Sam, the town's not the way it is. I know you're trying. We're doing the best we can. Yes, we are doing the best we can. And folks, there's a lot of great things happening. We come back, the chief will talk about that right after this break. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, 24/7, you can see all of our shows on ssptv.com. We're here today with the chief, our police chief in Hazleton, Frank DeAndrea, and in the studio, I want to welcome John Patton, who is the operating manager of the Standard Speaker, our media partners, and the new managing editor, Mark Hatcher, is no stranger to our station here, and Amanda Chrisman, who is a reporter. We had Eric here, the photographer. Once again, folks, this shows you the commitment that the Standard Speaker and SSPTV has to the community to bring you as much information as possible. Remember, folks, listen to what I have to say. We do not make the news. We report the news, just so you understand that. Frank, we talked about morale. Morale when you first came in, some officers, from what I understand, were not pleased, the uniforms of this, to that, etc., and they were a little upset. How is the morale now? And don't lie to me.
I would never.
Okay.
That's one thing I won't do. I believe that when I became chief, it was more change management. A lot of it is always fear of the unknown, somebody new coming in from the outside, and the changes that I was trying to implement, it was just different, sometimes dramatically different than what the department was used to, because if you've done something the same way all of your career, you only know one way. I'm not bringing that knowledge with me. I'm coming in from the outside. So I don't fault anybody for having that apprehension when I first came on. I believe that part of it was their fear of the unknown, and the other part, I'll put all on my shoulders. I never had any idea what municipal policing truly was until I've experienced it firsthand. And so collectively now, I still, to this day, don't wear, and I'll show you right here on my name tag, the first day I spoke with my men, I explained to them that I would not wear serving since 1988 on there because I wasn't a part of the Hazleton Police Department for that long. And I explained to them that I will earn their respect. I am not commanding it, I'm not asking for it, I will earn their respect. I've been approached by many members of the department now asking me to please wear that because I believe with them I've earned that respect. At the same time, they totally have mine for the efforts and the work that they do and what they accomplish with what they had.
Going on, now there's a lot of great things that are happening in the police department. The mayor announced on our show, and it was reported on the standing speaker, he added 2 more policemen. Now, how big is this?
Any addition to the staff is huge, not only to the police themselves, but to the community. Anytime I might be able to put a 4th officer on for a specific shift, have, I don't want to, sound facetious, but an extra cop on a shift, just somebody who can go out and maybe just write tickets or just do parking or traffic enforcement or just go to a neighborhood and watch. That's unheard of. Right now we burn our candle at both ends and the middle.
So this is huge. 2 cops.
And any amount is huge.
How many more cops you need?
Well, it's funny because in 2006, when George Deeb's shooting took place, November 29th, Lou Barletta was on with City Council explaining that the police department then, at 31, was 20 cops short. Crime has gone up since then. Mm-hmm. So for the city statistics with population, for people to say that the department should have 60 people, I wouldn't argue.
Okay, so right now, as I said before, just yesterday my wife and I were shopping, and a nice couple came in. They complimented us and what they're doing, and the lady said, and her husband, "Boy, it's just a shame what's happening in Hazleton." You hear that all the time. Of course, we have to understand that Hazleton is not, alone. We have other cities that are way worse.
Nation.
Yeah, but however, we live here, okay,
right.
and we're concerned about here. And my opening is saying, well, do we just shoot ourselves in the head and put a blanket? That's it, to give up on Hazleton. Some of the things, you got 2 new cops coming. So what can we do? What else is happening to deter crime? And how do we let people know that we are serious about keeping the city, safe?
Sure, I think it breaks down from the police department standpoint into my short-range goals, which will be what I'm trying to work on for this next upcoming year, and then what's the long-range goals for the future of the department, or how do I see, the future of the community. There's some great initiatives that I just had to take some breathing room. I try to get a couple of hours of sleep every night, so we put them off till this year. The district attorney, huge. The fact that that woman is committed to open a southern Luzerne County annex in City Hall is incredible. That initiative will be one of the biggest accomplishments that I could succeed as chief, simply because of the access that the DA will have to Luzerne County, having an ADA here, having county detectives here assigned to all of our investigations. The increase of the police officers from the mayor, phenomenal. I move another detective upstairs to try and split the caseload from the 3 detectives that are there right now to a 4th. Now it'll end up being that each one of them gets their own homicide instead of having some officers double up on homicides. So just trying to take some of the workload off the detectives will also be huge. Using the community development money to get a citywide camera system that's controlled by the police department that could be moved from one building to another, from one neighborhood to another.
So you're being watched.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Another big thing. We've talked about that
Yes.
often.
Yeah, and I think it's a great opportunity to let the people know that you are being watched.
Right.
In one city, I can't recall when, one city they did flyers. And what they did is they put warning, okay, and they explained that what's happening in the city, that you're being, et cetera. And what they did is they went around and they placed these flyers on all the homes, okay, and just to let people, and in this area would be both languages, okay, just to let people know what the city police are doing. They're watching, okay. When we look at, I saw your picture in the Standard Speaker with the Guardian Angels, okay. Is that going to be a part of our town now, the Guardian Angels? Yeah.
The Guardian Angels, per se, are just another type of crime watch. So my simple answer is absolutely. I will solicit crime watches this year in every neighborhood that I can. I don't only want them in 2 or 3 neighborhoods. I want, by the end of this year, I'd like them in 7 different neighborhoods. I've already talked to some of the people who run the crime watches about a Facebook page for Hazleton Crime Watch that isn't something that you go to and you complain about the community. It's a place you go to find out where the meetings are, when the meetings are. No different than when you cross the railroad tracks into some city and you see where the Elks are meeting, at what night and what place. You're going to be able to log on to a crime watch page and get information about how to help the community.
Frank, to calm the fears of the citizens in the greater Hazleton area, and maybe this is not true, are most of the cases, on a scale 80%, 90%, are most of the cases of murders and beatings, are they isolated cases?
Isolated as in
Are
one's
they,
not related to another?
Yeah, no, I'm saying
random?
No. Are they random, or is it, or because it's either drug related or it's isolated and it's not like a random type thing? We're going out and robbing and shooting everybody.
The majority of the crimes in the high profile crimes or the violent crimes are far from random. There is the occasion where you do have something that happened and someone was hurt over it. But for somebody to go through the town and just say picking people at random to shoot them, we don't have that.
Okay.
You know?
Folks, I'm talking to our police chief, Frank DeAndrea in Hazleton. What about downtown? Is it safe? And what it seems, what are we doing to curb this? And folks, where does the media come in here? How can we help in the community? We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. My guest today is Police Chief Frank DeAndrea. In the studio today we have John Patton, who is the operating manager for the Standard Speaker, and the new managing editor starting April 1st, Mark Hatcher, and Amanda Chrisman, reporter here in the studio. Once again, full details of this show can be seen tomorrow in the Standard Speaker. Frank, talking about deterring surveillance and how we could feel a little safer. Is it safe to come downtown? Is it safe to walk Wyoming Street? Is it safe to come Broad Street, etc.?
Well, I think a lot of that isn't from statistics, it's from perception. Mm-hmm. So in the following year and as initiatives, the new surveillance system, I think, announcing to people you're being watched, the cameras being able to possibly, what's referred to in the industry as PTZ, pan, tilt, and zoom, so you don't know which direction the camera's actually facing at any time. I mentioned the district attorney purchasing another canine for the city. My plan for the canines is that the team will train in probably Memorial Park with a big dog suit, and you'll see, I might have to put an officer on Church and Diamond Avenue to direct traffic, but you'll see 2 dogs attacking a canine suit, showing their training. The public is going to be aware that the police department has canine as an asset. Those dogs will walk business districts. You will see them in the summertime walk in the business districts either as a pair or with another officer. There will be officers on foot patrol. There will be the new marked cars. You'll see community development money that I put towards overtime. because I need the community to recognize that these business districts can be safe places to thrive and survive.
Okay, now that leads me to the other question, okay? And as I mentioned here, we have our media partners who are totally committed to this town and to not only town, but to the area. You do Chief's Corner, which gives us information. You're on the Sam Lesante Show whenever you need to come on to give information. What can we in the media, and I said something before, unfortunately sometimes we have to report things we don't like to report. But I remember, we don't make the news, as people have to understand that. I often hear Sam Lesante's news had this and he should be ashamed of himself. Well, it wasn't me that presented that. How can we in the media, okay, help the community, help the police department, help us grow so we can have a better community?
Positivity instead of negativity. Even just sometimes with what we're going to spend all of our efforts on versus just reporting. But I look at it as the media is a community partner. So I continue to stress we're trying to drum up, garner support. We need crime watches, people to get involved. It's the same with the media. The media can do the same thing. The media is my tool. Without them, I can't reach the public. So I have always tried to foster a good relationship. But as we move forward, I think we just need to do that much more with the community involvement, with figuring out ways to get the word out to the community. Here's where the meeting is going to be. Here's what we're looking for. Here's why we're doing this. Maybe a monthly or weekly article from different city organizations in the paper. Same thing with Chief's Corner. Anything that we can do to collectively get the word out to the public of the positive side of the city and what we're trying to do to change it.
Well, as you can see today, okay, we have a total commitment from our media partners, the Standard Speaker, okay, and you have a total commitment from SSP TV, Samson Productions. We've always been there. We've made a commitment. Their location is in Hazleton. My building is in Hazleton. We're very much concerned about, the area. Plus, we're concerned about the seniors that live in this area who've been born and raised and who are fearful and just think that, it's a shame, and they're afraid, they're scared, they don't know what's happening to the town. Here again, it's nothing new. What are we doing to deter, the drugs and let people know you better not, do this in Hazleton?
Sure. Fortunately, unfortunately, especially with the drug problem, I fall back to, I have 35 police officers that are full-time narcotic investigators. I could have 70 narcotics investigators. There's just that prevalent a problem between the amount of drugs. We do the best that we can with what we have. But a lot of times it comes down to we simply need more police officers. How we accomplish getting more police officers, I'm not sure if it's a referendum or what, but I know what the alternative is. So the easiest way for me to keep the community safer is to have more cops out on the street all the time.
You think the laws are too lax when people do get caught and they don't have enough punishment so it could be a deterrent, not only with here but in the state of Pennsylvania?
Some laws, some of them, I agree with you, just don't seem to fit the crime and or it's not a crime at all. Other times I think it's a bureaucracy where it's just a never-ending, nothing ever even is done.
What do we have now in place in the city to deter some of these people, whether it's surveillance, canine? What do we have currently operating right now? I know where you want to go, more crime watch, more surveillance, et cetera, which we're building, and I think it's a great idea. What do we have right now?
35 guys that wear this patch, and they are the last line of defense between the criminals and the good people in the community. And I'm blessed to work with those 35 men who would give their lives for this community. They're just an outstanding bunch of individuals. So what we have right now is the Hazleton Police Department on the front lines of combating crime.
Is the mayor working with you?
Absolutely, absolutely. The one of the best attributes to the mayor is that he constantly comes down to my office and says, "You're the police chief. What do we need to do about this?" He has never come to me and said, I'm not doing that, or we're definitely going to do this, he always comes and says, you're the chief, you know, what do we need to do? Or is this a good idea? Or how can I help? He's the one who came to me with the idea of 2 new cops.
So we see some sunshine, don't we?
Absolutely.
I'm going to get rid of the winter because we see some sunshine.
Absolutely.
Well, Frank, it's always a pleasure having you on the show, and you're certainly welcome anytime on our news, as well as, you know, I'm sure my friends, media partners, the Standard Speaker feel the same. And I want to thank John Patton for coming here today, and also Mark Hatcher. Well, I wish him the best. Also, congratulations goes to Carl Christopher, who's done an outstanding job at the Standard Speaker. We're going to miss him. But get your dancing shoes ready, Carl, because I'm starting my dance show up again, and we need you to, you know, the main host for that. Amanda Chrisman here today, and of course we had Eric, photographer. Talk about commitment, folks. Standard Speaker's there, we're doing everything we possibly can. Let's have a positive attitude, help the police department, get those crime watches together, and a lot more is happening in the city of Hazleton. We'll see you next time.